The pen felt heavier than it should have. Isabella Green stared at the divorce papers spread across the marble kitchen island, the gold band on her finger catching the soft glow of Christmas lights strung around the window. Downstairs, the annual Christmas Eve party was in full swing. She could hear the laughter, the clinking glasses, the jazz quartet Vincent had hired playing something smooth and expensive. She picked up the pen, 3 years of marriage reduced to signatures and legal jargon. 3 years of waiting for a man who was always one meeting away, one phone call away, one business deal away from actually being present. Her hand trembled slightly as she signed the first page, then the second, then the third. Isabella Rose Green, not Russo. She'd never officially taken his name, though everyone called her Mrs. Russo anyway. Maybe some part of her had always known this was coming. She set the pen down and reached into her purse, pulling out the small plastic stick she'd been carrying around for 2 days. The 2 pink lines were still there, as clear as they'd been when she'd taken the test in the bathroom of a coffee shop 3 blocks from their mansion, unable to wait until she got home. Pregnant. The universe had a sick sense of humor. She placed the test carefully on top of the signed papers, right in the center where Vincent couldn't possibly miss it. Let him find it when he finally came upstairs after his guests left, probably around 3 in the morning. Let him realize what he'd lost. Isabella grabbed her suitcase. She'd packed it yesterday and hidden it in the guest room, and walked down the back staircase, the one the staff used. She couldn't face those people downstairs, the ones who air-kissed her cheeks and called her darling while whispering about her husband's business dealings behind their champagne flutes. The cold December air hit her face as she stepped outside. Her Uber was already waiting at the service entrance. "Airport?" the driver asked. "Yes, international terminal." She'd booked a red-eye to London. Her best friend from college, Sophie, had moved there 5 years ago and had been begging Isabella to visit. Well, now she had all the time in the world. The drive took 40 minutes. Isabella watched the city lights blur past, her hand unconsciously moving to her still flat stomach. She hadn't planned this. They'd been careful, mostly because Vincent was always too busy or too tired or too distracted, but there'd been one night, about 6 weeks ago, when he'd come home early. Really early. And he'd looked at her the way he used to, back when they first met, when he'd walked into the art gallery where she worked and bought every single painting she'd curated, just for an excuse to talk to her. That night, he'd been present. Completely, utterly present. And now she was carrying his child and leaving him. The airport was decorated for the holidays, tinsel and ornaments hanging from every available surface. Families rushed past with crying children and overflowing luggage carts. A man dressed as Santa rang a bell for charity donations. It all felt surreal. Isabella checked in, went through security, and found her gate. Boarding started in 90 minutes. She bought a bottle of water and a magazine she wouldn't read, then sat in the uncomfortable plastic chair and tried not to think. Her phone buzzed. Vincent. She declined the call. It buzzed again immediately. Then again. Then a text message popped up. "Where are you?" She turned off her phone, but somehow she knew. Even as she sat there, even as she told herself she was doing the right thing, she knew he'd figure it out. Vincent Russo didn't build an empire by being slow or stupid. He had people everywhere, eyes everywhere, connections everywhere. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, she heard his voice. "Isabella." She froze. He was standing 15 feet away, near the entrance to the gate area, still wearing his perfectly tailored black suit from the party. His dark hair was slightly messed up, like he'd been running his hands through it. His gray eyes, the ones that had made her heart stop the first time she saw them, were locked on her with an intensity that made her chest tight. How did he get through security without a ticket? Oh, right. Vincent Russo could do whatever he wanted. She stood up slowly, gripping her purse. "You need to leave." "Not without you." His voice was rough, strained. She'd never heard him sound like that. "Vincent, I signed the papers. It's done." "I don't care about the papers." He took a step closer. Several people were starting to stare. "You're pregnant." Her breath caught. "How did you—" "I went upstairs, I saw." Another step. "Were you going to tell me?" Eventually. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You were going to get on a plane and disappear, and eventually you'd send me a text message, an email. You weren't there. The words burst out of her, louder than she intended. You're never there, Vincent. I've been alone in that house for 2 years while you play king of the underworld. I ate dinner by myself every night. I went to bed alone. I woke up alone. What exactly was I supposed to do? Keep waiting for you to remember you had a wife? His jaw clenched. I was protecting you. From what? Life? Because that's what it felt like. Like I was locked in a beautiful cage while you were out there living. Isabella. No. She shook her head. You don't get to do this. You don't get to show up now and expect me to fall back into your arms because you remembered I exist. I'm done waiting for you to choose me. The announcement came over the loudspeaker. Her flight was boarding. Vincent looked at the gate, then back at her. Don't get on that plane. Give me one good reason why I shouldn't. He moved fast, closing the distance between them before she could react. His hands cupped her face, gentle despite the desperation in his eyes. Because I love you. Because I've loved you since the moment I saw you standing in front of that god-awful abstract painting, telling some pretentious collector why he was wrong about modern art. Because you're carrying my child, and I want to be there for every single moment. Because I know I messed up, and I know I don't deserve another chance, but I'm begging you for one anyway. Her eyes burned with tears. Love isn't enough, Vincent. You loved me 2 years ago, too, and it didn't stop you from disappearing. You're right. His thumbs brushed away the tears sliding down her cheeks. Love isn't enough. But what if I told you I'd walk away from all of it? What if I told you that finding those papers and that test on my desk made me realize I'd been choosing the wrong thing this entire time? I'd say you're saying what you think I want to hear. Then let me prove it. His forehead touched hers. Come home. Not to the mansion, not to the parties, not to that life. Come home to me. Give me 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks to show you that I can be the man you fell in love with. And if I fail, if you still want to leave after that, I'll drive you to the airport myself. I'll sign whatever papers you want. I won't fight you. Vincent. 2 weeks, Isabella. What's 2 weeks compared to the rest of our lives? She should say no. She should get on the plane and never look back. She should protect herself and their baby from the inevitable disappointment. But God, she was so tired of protecting herself. And the way he was looking at her, like she was the only thing in the world that mattered, like he was drowning and she was air. If I stay, she whispered, I'm not staying in the main house. I need space. I need to think. The guest house, it's yours. Whatever you need. And no more lies. No more protecting me by shutting me out. If you're in danger, I deserve to know. If there are problems with your business, I deserve to know. I'm not some fragile thing that needs to be hidden away. No more lies, he agreed. And you need to understand that I'm not promising anything. I'm giving you 2 weeks to show me you've changed, but that doesn't mean we're back together. It doesn't mean I'm tearing up those divorce papers. I understand. She searched his face, looking for any sign of manipulation, any hint that this was just another game. But all she saw was raw, desperate honesty. Okay, she finally said. 2 weeks. The relief that flooded his expression was almost painful to watch. He pulled her into his arms, holding her like he was afraid she'd vanish if he let go. She let herself lean into him, just for a moment, breathing in the cologne that still made her knees weak. We should go, she murmured against his chest. Before I change my mind. He pulled back, keeping one arm around her waist as he grabbed her suitcase with his free hand. They walked past the gate, past the staring passengers, past the flight that would have taken her away from everything. In the car, one of his less conspicuous vehicles, a dark sedan instead of the usual town car, Vincent held her hand the entire drive home. He didn't try to talk. He didn't make promises or excuses. He just held her hand and drove, occasionally glancing at her like he needed to confirm she was really there. When they pulled up to the estate, he drove past the main house where the party was still going, heading to the guest house tucked away in the back corner of the property. It was small by their standards, only 3 bedrooms, but Isabella had always loved it. She'd decorated it herself when they first bought the estate, thinking they might use it for guests who wanted privacy. Vincent carried her suitcase inside, setting it in the master bedroom. The space was exactly as she'd left it. She'd been coming here sometimes over the past few months, when the loneliness in the main house became unbearable. "I should go shut down the party," he said, standing awkwardly in the doorway. "But I'll come back tomorrow, early. We can have breakfast together if you want." "Vincent." He turned. "Thank you for coming after me." Something in his expression softened. "I'll always come after you, Isabella. Always." "That's a promise I should have made a long time ago." After he left, Isabella sat on the edge of the bed, her hand on her stomach. What had she just done? Had she made the biggest mistake of her life, or had she given them the second chance they both needed? Her phone, she'd turned it back on in the car, buzzed with a text. "Vincent. Sleep well. I'll be thinking about you." Despite everything, despite all the hurt and anger and confusion, she smiled. Maybe 2 weeks wouldn't be enough time for him to prove himself. Maybe this would end exactly like she feared, with more heartbreak and disappointment. But what if it didn't? What if the man she'd fallen in love with was still in there, buried under the weight of his empire and his responsibilities? What if all he needed was someone to remind him who he used to be? She texted back, "Good night, Vincent." 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, "Good night, Bella. Sweet dreams, Bella." He hadn't called her that in over a year. Isabella lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow would be the first day of their 2 weeks, the first day of whatever came next. She just hoped she wouldn't regret this choice. But deep down, in a place she'd tried to ignore for months, a small flame of hope flickered to life. Maybe, just maybe, they could find their way back to each other. Maybe this baby was exactly what they needed to remember why they'd chosen each other in the first place. Maybe Vincent really would choose her this time. What happens when Christmas morning arrives and Vincent shows up with more than just breakfast? Will Isabella's walls start to crumble, or will old patterns emerge to test his promises? Isabella woke to the smell of coffee and something sweet baking. For a moment, disoriented by sleep, she forgot where she was. Then it all came rushing back. The airport, Vincent's desperate plea, the 2-week agreement. She grabbed her phone from the nightstand. 7:30 in the morning. Christmas Day. The smell was coming from downstairs. She pulled on a robe over her pajamas and padded down the stairs barefoot. The scene in the kitchen stopped her in the doorway. Vincent stood at the stove wearing jeans and a plain black t-shirt she'd never seen him in. His hair was damp, like he'd just showered. And he was making pancakes. Actually making them, not having someone deliver them. "You're cooking," she said. He turned, spatula in hand, and smiled. Not his business smile, the one he used at parties and meetings. His real smile, the one that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "Trying to. I called my mom at 6 this morning to get her recipe. She was thrilled, by the way, asked if I'd lost my mind." He flipped a pancake with surprising competence. "I told her maybe I had, but in a good way." "You told your mother? About you leaving? About the baby?" He slid the pancake onto a plate. "Yeah. She said it was about time I got my head out of my, well, she used some colorful Italian. Then she told me if I screwed this up again, she'd disown me and adopt you instead." Despite herself, Isabella laughed. She'd always loved Vincent's mother, Maria. The woman was tiny but fierce, and she'd never been impressed by her son's empire. "Sit," Vincent said, pulling out a chair at the small kitchen table. "I made decaf coffee, and there's orange juice, fresh squeezed." "You squeeze oranges now?" "I watched a YouTube video." He set a plate in front of her, 3 perfect pancakes with strawberries and whipped cream. "It's harder than it looks." Isabella picked up her fork, eyeing him suspiciously. "Who are you, and what did you do with Vincent Russo?" He sat across from her with his own plate. "I'm the guy who almost lost everything that matters. Turns out that's pretty motivating." She took a bite. The pancakes were actually good, really good. "Your mother's recipe?" She made them every Christmas morning when I was growing up, before everything got complicated. He paused, his fork hovering over his plate. I want that for our kid, Isabella. Not the life I've been living. Not the parties and the late nights and the constant danger. I want Christmas morning pancakes and regular bedtimes and boring, normal things. Vincent, you're not a boring, normal person. No. But I could be a present person, an available person, a person who puts his family first. He met her eyes. That's what I'm asking for these 2 weeks. A chance to prove I can be that person. Isabella set down her fork. Why did you push me away? You said last night you were protecting me, but from what? I need to understand, Vincent. I need to know what was so dangerous that you couldn't even tell me about it. He was quiet for a long moment, his jaw tight. Then he exhaled slowly. My second in command, Frank Castellano. We grew up together, worked together for 15 years. I trusted him completely. Vincent's hands clenched on the table. About 2 years ago, I found out he was skimming money from our operations. A lot of money. Millions. And when I confronted him, he made it clear that if I moved against him, you'd pay the price. Isabella's breath caught. He threatened me? Not directly. He was too smart for that. But he started showing up places you were. The art gallery, your favorite coffee shop, that bookstore you love downtown. Always with some excuse, always friendly. But the message was clear. He could get to you anytime he wanted. So you pushed me away. I thought if you weren't close to me, if you seemed like we were having problems, he'd leave you alone. I started spending all my time at the office, taking meetings late into the night, anything to make it look like our marriage was falling apart. I thought I was protecting you. By breaking my heart instead? The words came out sharper than she intended. I know how it sounds. I know I made the wrong choice. But Isabella, if something had happened to you because of me, because of my world. His voice cracked slightly. I couldn't live with that. She studied his face, seeing the genuine anguish there. Part of her understood his logic, even if she hated it. Part of her wanted to reach across the table and take his hand, but the hurt was still too fresh. What happened to Frank? He's gone. I handled it 3 months ago, but by then the damage was done. You'd already pulled away. We were living like strangers, and I didn't know how to fix it without telling you everything, which would have made you a target again. So you just decided to let me go? No. Vincent leaned forward, intensity burning in his gray eyes. I decided I'd rather have you hate me and be safe than love me and be in danger. But then you signed those papers and left that test, and I realized I'd been an idiot. Because you were never safer without me, Isabella. You were just lonelier. And our child deserves better than a father who's too afraid to fight for his family. The silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. Finally, Isabella spoke. I appreciate you telling me the truth. But Vincent, this can't happen again. If we're going to make this work, and I'm not saying we will, but if we are, you can't make decisions about my safety without me. I'm not a chess piece to be moved around the board. I'm your wife. Ex-wife. He corrected quietly. Technically. Soon-to-be ex-wife, she amended. Unless you really can prove you've changed. He reached across the table, palm up, a question in the gesture. After a moment's hesitation, she placed her hand in his. His fingers closed around hers, warm and solid. Tell me about the baby, he said softly. How are you feeling? Have you been sick? Have you seen a doctor yet? A little nauseous in the mornings. Nothing terrible. And yes, I saw Dr. Mitchell 2 days ago. She confirmed I'm about 6 weeks along. Everything looks good so far. 6 weeks. Vincent's thumb traced circles on the back of her hand. That night after the charity gala. She felt heat rise to her cheeks. Yeah, that night. It had been unexpected, the way he'd come home and looked at her like he was drowning, the way they'd barely made it to the bedroom, desperate and hungry for each other after months of distance, the way he'd held her afterward, his face buried in her neck, whispering things in Italian she hadn't quite caught. I remember everything about that night, he said, his voice lower now, rougher. The dress you wore, that deep green one. The way you laughed at something the mayor's wife said. The way you looked at me when you thought I wasn't watching, like maybe you still wanted me. Vincent, I remember taking that dress off you, slowly, because I wanted to memorize every second. I remember the sounds you made, the way you said my name. His eyes locked on hers. I remember thinking that maybe we could find our way back. And then I woke up the next morning and Frank sent me a photo of you at the gala with a target photoshopped over your face. So I shut down again. I pushed you away again, and I hated myself for it every single day. Isabella's breath had quickened. The memories were flooding back. The heat, the need, the brief, perfect moment when they'd been completely connected again. We can't just fix this with chemistry, she managed. I know, but it doesn't hurt that we have it. He stood up, still holding her hand, and pulled her gently to her feet. Dance with me. There's no music. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and soft jazz filled the kitchen. The same song that had been playing at the gallery the night they met. Vincent. But he was already pulling her close, one hand on her waist, the other still clasped with hers. They swayed together in the small kitchen, surrounded by breakfast dishes and Christmas morning light streaming through the windows. I missed this, he murmured against her hair. Just holding you, being close to you. Isabella let herself relax into him, just slightly. His body was familiar, the way they fit together still perfect after all this time. I missed it too, even when I was angry, even when I wanted to hate you. Can I ask you something? Maybe. When did you stop believing in us? The question hit harder than she expected. She was quiet, thinking. I don't think I ever completely stopped, but there was a night, about 4 months ago. Our anniversary. I made dinner, wore that lingerie you liked, lit candles, and you didn't come home until 3 in the morning. You were on your phone the entire time you were there. You didn't even notice the dinner getting cold on the table. Vincent's arms tightened around her. Isabella, I cried that night, for hours, and the next morning, I looked at myself in the mirror and decided I was done waiting, done hoping, done being the woman who loved a man who couldn't love her back the same way. I did love you. I do love you. I know. But love without presence is just a pretty word, Vincent. It doesn't keep you warm at night. It doesn't make you feel less alone. They stopped swaying. He pulled back to look at her face, his expression devastated. If I could go back and change every single one of those nights, I would. I'd choose you every time, over every meeting, every deal, every problem that seemed so important then and means nothing now. You can't change the past. No, but I can change the future, our future, if you'll let me. Isabella searched his eyes. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly it physically hurt. But belief required more than words and pancakes and one emotional dance in the kitchen. Show me, she whispered. Show me you mean it. Show me I'm not going to end up right back where I was 4 months ago, eating dinner alone and wondering where my husband is. I will. Every day for the next 2 weeks I'll show you, and then every day after that, if you'll have me. The song ended. Another one started, something slower and more intimate. But Vincent didn't let her go, and Isabella didn't pull away. Maybe this was foolish. Maybe she was setting herself up for more heartbreak. But standing there in his arms, feeling the steady beat of his heart against hers, feeling the slight swell of their child between them, she thought maybe foolish hope was worth the risk. What happens after breakfast? She asked. He smiled. Whatever you want. We could open presents. I have something for you. We could watch Christmas movies. We could go for a walk. Or we could just stay here and talk. No agenda. No schedule. Just us. Just us sounds good. Yeah? Yeah. And for the first time in years, Isabella felt something shift inside her chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, but the smallest possible crack in the walls she'd built around her heart. Just enough to let in a sliver of light. Just enough to let in hope. The next morning, Isabella found a note slipped under her door. Good morning, Bella. Breakfast is on the porch when you're ready. No pressure. Take your time. V. She opened the door to find a tray with French toast, fresh berries, and herbal tea. Still warm. A single white peony, her actual favorite flower, sat in a small vase beside the plate. He remembered. Isabella ate on the porch, wrapped in a blanket against the December cold, watching the sun climb over the estate grounds. It was peaceful in a way the main house never was. Quiet, simple. Her phone buzzed, a text from Vincent. "How's the morning sickness today?" She smiled despite herself and typed back. "Manageable. The tea helps." "Good. I have a meeting at 10, but I'll be done by noon. Thought we could have lunch together. There's a new sandwich place downtown you mentioned wanting to try." He'd been listening. Even during those distant months, he'd been listening. "Okay, noon works." 3 dots appeared, then, "Thank you for giving me this chance, Isabella. I won't waste it." She set down her phone, something warm and uncertain blooming in her chest. This version of Vincent, attentive, present, thoughtful, was the man she'd fallen in love with. But how long could he sustain it? How long before the Empire called him back? At 11:45, she was ready, wearing jeans and a soft sweater that hid her still flat stomach. Vincent pulled up in the sedan, not the town car. Another small thing, but it mattered. "You're early," she said, sliding into the passenger seat. Meeting ended faster than expected. Turns out when you're not trying to micromanage every detail, things move quicker. He glanced at her, then reached over and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "You look beautiful." "I'm wearing jeans and no makeup." "I know. You look beautiful." The sandwich place was busy with the lunch crowd, but Vincent had called ahead. They got a corner table by the window, away from the noise. "So, tell me," Isabella said after they'd ordered, "what was this meeting about? You said you'd be honest about your business." Vincent leaned back in his chair. "I'm restructuring, moving away from the gray areas, focusing on the legitimate operations. Real estate, investments, a few restaurants. It's going to take time, but I'm serious about it. What do your people think? Some of them think I've lost my mind. Others are relieved." Turns out a lot of guys in this life would happily go straight if they had the option. He paused. "I'm offering them that option. Clean jobs, real paychecks, no looking over their shoulders. And the ones who don't want to go straight, they're free to leave. I'm not holding anyone hostage to my new life plan." Isabella studied him. "This is a big change, Vincent. Are you doing it for me or for you?" "Both. I'm doing it because I want to be the kind of father who doesn't have to lie about what he does for a living. The kind of husband who comes home at a reasonable hour and doesn't have blood on his conscience." He reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. "But mostly I'm doing it because I finally realized something. Power means nothing if you have no one to share your life with. Money means nothing if you're eating dinner alone every night. And an empire means nothing if it costs you the person you love most." Their food arrived. For a few minutes they ate in comfortable silence. It felt normal, natural, like maybe they could actually do this, build something real from the wreckage of what they'd had. "Can I ask you something?" Vincent said. "When did you decide to leave? Not just think about it, but actually decide?" Isabella set down her sandwich. "The night of the Christmas party. I was getting dressed, and you were already downstairs with your guests. I looked at myself in the mirror and realized I'd become an accessory, the beautiful wife who smiled and played hostess and never complained. And I thought, is this what I want our child to see? A mother who settled for crumbs of affection?" Vincent's jaw tightened. "I never meant to make you feel that way. I know. But impact matters more than intention." She took a sip of water. "I need to know that 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, 2 years from now, you're not going to slip back into old patterns, that you're not going to wake up one day and decide the business needs you more than we do. I can't promise I'll be perfect. I'll mess up sometimes. I'll probably work too late occasionally, or get distracted by a problem I can't solve." He leaned forward, intensity in his eyes. "But I can promise that you and our child will always be my priority. That when you need me, I'll be there. That I'll never again choose anything over you. How do I know you mean it? You don't. Not yet. That's what these 2 weeks are for." He smiled slightly. I'm asking you to trust me again, Isabella, and I know I haven't earned that yet. But I will. After lunch, they walked through the downtown shops. Vincent held her hand, pointing out ridiculous window displays and making her laugh with commentary about the people passing by. He bought her a book from the indie bookstore she loved, a new release from her favorite author. He didn't make a big deal of it, just handed it to her with a quiet, "Thought you might enjoy this." They stopped for hot chocolate at a cafe, sitting outside under a heat lamp despite the cold. Vincent told her stories about his childhood, things she'd never heard before. About his father teaching him to play chess. About his mother's terrible singing voice. About the first time he'd realized his family's business wasn't like other families' businesses. "I was 12, he said. Overheard my father on the phone talking about someone who'd crossed him. The things he said." Vincent shook his head. "I asked my mother about it later. She just held me and said some men do bad things for good reasons. I didn't understand it then. Do you understand it now? I understand that good reasons don't erase bad actions. That you can't build something clean on a foundation of violence and fear." He looked at her. "That's why I'm changing things. For our kid. So they never have to overhear a conversation like that and wonder what kind of man their father is." Isabella felt tears prick her eyes. "Vincent, don't cry, Bella. Please don't cry. These are good tears. Pregnancy hormones." She wiped at her eyes, laughing slightly. "You're making this very difficult, you know. Staying mad at you." "Good. That's the plan." He reached over and wiped away a tear she'd missed, his touch gentle. "I want to earn my way back into your heart, Isabella. Into your trust. Into your life." They drove back to the estate as the sun was setting, the sky painted in shades of pink and gold. Vincent walked her to the guest house door, his hands in his pockets like a teenager on a first date. "Thank you for today," Isabella said. "It was really nice. We could do it again tomorrow, if you want." "I'd like that." He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. "Good night, Bella. Sweet dreams." She watched him walk back toward the main house, something warm and complicated stirring in her chest. This was dangerous. She was supposed to be protecting herself, keeping her walls up. But Vincent was chipping away at them, one small gesture at a time. Inside, she found another note on the kitchen counter. "I'm proud of you for taking care of yourself and our baby. You're going to be an amazing mother. I hope I can be half as good a father as you are a mother. Sleep well. V." Isabella pressed the note to her chest, a smile spreading across her face despite her best efforts to stay guarded. Maybe this was foolish. Maybe she was setting herself up for disappointment. But standing in her kitchen, holding Vincent's note, feeling the tiny life growing inside her, she thought maybe foolish hope was exactly what they needed. Her phone buzzed, another text from Vincent. "I know you're probably trying to keep your distance. I know I don't deserve another chance, but I need you to know something. These past 2 days with you have been the best days I've had in years, not because of what we did or where we went, but because I got to be with you, really be with you. And it reminded me of everything I've been missing, everything I almost threw away. I love you, Isabella. I never stopped, and I'm going to spend every day proving that to you." She read the message 3 times, her heart hammering in her chest. Then she typed back, "I'm not ready to say it back yet, but I'm glad you're trying, Vincent. I'm glad you're here." His response came immediately. "That's enough. For now, that's more than enough." Isabella got ready for bed, her mind spinning with thoughts of Vincent, their baby, the future they might or might not have. She was just about to turn off the light when she heard a soft knock on the door. Vincent stood on the porch, looking uncertain. "I'm sorry to bother you. I couldn't sleep knowing you were so close but still so far away. Can we talk? Just for a few minutes?" She should say no. She should send him away and stick to her boundaries. But something in his expression made her step aside and let him in. "What did you want to talk about?" He walked to the living room, running a hand through his hair. "I've been thinking about what you said at lunch, about needing to know I won't slip back into old patterns. And you're right to worry about that. I've been that person for so long. I'm not sure I remember how to be anyone else. Then why are you here, Vincent? To tell me you can't do this after all? No. I'm here to tell you that I'm scared. Terrified, actually. What if I can't change enough? What if I try my best and it's still not good enough? What if I lose you anyway? The vulnerability in his voice cracked something open inside her. She crossed the room and took his hand. I'm scared too. Scared of believing in you again. Scared of getting hurt. Scared of what happens if this doesn't work. So we're both terrified. Yeah. He pulled her closer, his forehead resting against hers. Maybe that's okay. Maybe being scared means we actually care about getting this right. Maybe. They stood there in the dim light, breathing together, holding each other. No promises, no declarations, just two people trying to find their way back to each other. I should go, Vincent finally said. Let you sleep. Stay. He pulled back to look at her. Isabella. Not like that. Just stay for a while. Talk to me. Help me fall asleep. I've been so lonely, Vincent. Even before I decided to leave, I was so lonely. Something broke in his expression. He nodded, and they moved to the couch. Isabella curled up against him, her head on his chest, his arms around her. He talked about everything and nothing. Plans for the nursery, ideas for baby names, stories about his mother's excitement about becoming a grandmother. His voice was soothing, familiar, home. Isabella felt her eyes getting heavy, felt herself relaxing completely for the first time in months. Thank you for letting me stay, Vincent murmured, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. Thank you for showing up, she whispered back. And as she drifted off to sleep in his arms, Isabella thought that maybe, just maybe, they were going to be okay. Isabella woke up alone on the couch, a blanket tucked carefully around her. Morning light streamed through the windows, and the smell of coffee drifted from the kitchen. She sat up, disoriented. Vincent must have left sometime during the night, but not before making sure she was comfortable. On the coffee table sat a small box wrapped in silver paper with a note. Open me when you're ready. No pressure. V. She picked up the box, turning it over in her hands. It was light, no bigger than her palm. After a moment's hesitation, she unwrapped it. Inside was a key, not to a car or a house, but something smaller, more delicate. A safety deposit box key. Her phone buzzed. Vincent. The key is to box 247 at First National Bank. Inside are all my financial records, business documents, everything. Complete transparency. I want you to know exactly what you're getting into if you decide to stay. No more secrets. Isabella stared at the key, her chest tight. This was huge. Vincent never let anyone see his full operations, not even his most trusted associates, and he was handing it all to her. She texted back, "This is a lot of trust. You deserve it. You always did. I should have given it to you years ago." Before she could respond, another text came through. "Can I take you somewhere today? There's something I need to show you. Someone I need you to meet." "Who?" "You'll see. Pick you up at 11. Isabella showered and dressed, her mind racing. What was Vincent planning? Who did he want her to meet? And why did she have the feeling that today was going to change everything? At exactly 11, Vincent pulled up in the sedan. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept much after leaving her last night, but his eyes lit up when he saw her. "You look rested," he said as she got in. "I slept better than I have in months. Where are we going?" "You'll see." They drove for about 30 minutes, leaving the city behind. The landscape turned more rural, scattered houses replacing the urban sprawl. Finally, Vincent turned down a long driveway leading to a sprawling ranch-style home. "Vincent, whose house is this?" He parked and turned to her. "Mine. Well, ours. I bought it 6 months ago." "You bought a house and didn't tell me?" "I was going to. I wanted it to be a surprise." He ran a hand through his hair. "This was supposed to be our fresh start, away from the estate, away from that life. Just us. But then everything fell apart, and I couldn't figure out how to tell you about it without explaining why I'd been so distant, and..." "You were planning to leave the business 6 months ago?" I was planning to leave it 2 years ago, when Frank made his threats. But I couldn't just walk away without protecting you first, without making sure he couldn't touch you. So I started slowly transitioning things, moving money, setting up legitimate businesses. This house was part of that plan. Isabella stared at the house through the windshield. It was beautiful, warm stone exterior, large windows, a wraparound porch. Nothing like the cold mansion they'd been living in. "Come inside," Vincent said softly. "Let me show you what I imagined for us." They walked up the porch steps together. Vincent unlocked the door and held it open for her. The interior took her breath away. It was furnished, but not with the expensive, uncomfortable pieces from the estate. This was a home. Cozy couches, soft rugs, a kitchen with an actual breakfast nook. Family photos on the walls, pictures of them from when they were happy, laughing, in love. "I decorated it myself," Vincent said, following her gaze. "Probably did a terrible job, but I wanted it to feel like us, like the people we were before everything got complicated." Isabella walked through the rooms, touching surfaces, taking it all in. There was a library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves already filled with her favorite authors. A sunroom perfect for painting. She'd mentioned once, years ago, that she wished she had space to paint again. And then she opened a door at the end of the hall and stopped breathing. A nursery, painted in soft yellow, gender-neutral. A crib already assembled. A rocking chair by the window. Shelves ready for books and toys. A mobile hanging above the crib with little moons and stars. "Vincent." Her voice cracked. He came up behind her, his hand gentle on her lower back. "I had hope, even when I shouldn't have. Hope that maybe we'd find our way back to each other. That maybe we'd have the family we always talked about." "You did this 6 months ago?" "The nursery I just finished last week, after you left, after I saw the test." He turned her to face him. "I know I messed everything up. I know I hurt you. But Isabella, I need you to understand. I never stopped wanting this. Wanting us. I just got so lost in trying to protect you that I forgot how to actually be with you." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you show me any of this?" "Because I'm an idiot. Because I thought I had to have everything perfect before I could bring you here. Because Frank was still a threat and I couldn't risk him finding out about this place." He wiped away her tears with his thumbs. "And then it was too late. You'd already given up on me. I didn't give up on you. I gave up on us. There's a difference." "Is there? Because from where I'm standing, they're the same thing." Isabella looked back at the nursery, at this tangible proof that Vincent had been planning their future even while pushing her away. "I don't understand you. How can you be so thoughtful and so stupid at the same time?" Despite the tears, despite the heavy emotions, Vincent laughed. "It's a gift. I excel at it." She hit his chest lightly. "This isn't funny." "No, it's not." He caught her hand, pressing it against his heart. "But it's real, Isabella. All of this, the house, the nursery, the life I want to build with you. It's all real. I just went about it in the worst possible way. You should have trusted me, should have let me in." "I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." He pulled her closer. "But I'm trusting you now. With everything. The bank key, this house, my heart. It's all yours. It always was." They stood there in the empty nursery, holding each other while Isabella cried, and Vincent whispered apologies against her hair. Finally, she pulled back. "I need to sit down." They moved to the sunroom, settling on the couch that faced the windows overlooking a small lake on the property. The view was stunning, peaceful in a way the estate never was. "There's more," Vincent said after a moment. "Someone I want you to meet. He's the reason I know I can really leave the business." "Who?" As if on cue, the doorbell rang. Vincent stood up. "That'll be him. Are you okay? This is a lot for one day." "I'm okay, just confused, and emotional, and pregnant." She laughed weakly. "But okay." Vincent went to answer the door. Isabella heard voices, then footsteps. When they came into the sunroom, she stood up in shock. The man with Vincent was in his 60s, well-dressed but not flashy. He had kind eyes and a warm smile. Isabella, this is Richard Morrison. He's with the FBI. Her heart stopped. What? Richard extended his hand. It's nice to finally meet you, Mrs. Russo. Vincent's told me a lot about you. She shook his hand automatically, her mind reeling. FBI? Vincent, what's going on? Vincent guided her back to the couch, sitting beside her. Remember I told you about Frank? About how he was skimming money and threatening you? Yes. What I didn't tell you was that I went to the FBI about him. 18 months ago. I gave them everything. Records, recordings, evidence of his criminal operations, in exchange for immunity and witness protection if I needed it. Isabella looked between them. You've been working with the FBI? Richard nodded. Vincent came to us with information that helped bring down one of the largest money laundering operations on the East Coast. Frank Castellano is currently in federal custody, along with 15 other high-ranking members of various criminal organizations. When did this happen? 3 months ago, Vincent said. The night of the raids, I couldn't tell you. The FBI had me in a safe house for 72 hours for debriefing. You thought I was at the office, but I was actually giving testimony. That was one of our worst nights. I called you 18 times. I know. And I couldn't answer. Couldn't tell you where I was or why. His hand found hers. Richard has been helping me transition my operations. Everything I'm doing now is legal, clean. The FBI verified it. Richard pulled out a folder from his briefcase. These are the official documents confirming Vincent's cooperation and immunity agreement. He's no longer under investigation. His remaining businesses have all been reviewed and cleared. Essentially, Mrs. Russo, your husband is a free man. Ex-husband, Isabella corrected automatically, then looked at Vincent. Technically, he agreed, something hopeful in his expression. Richard stood up. I'll give you two some privacy. Vincent, you have my number if you need anything. Mrs. Russo, it was a pleasure meeting you. Your husband is a brave man. Not many people in his position would have made the choices he did. After Richard left, Isabella and Vincent sat in silence. The weight of everything, the house, the nursery, the FBI involvement, the complete upheaval of everything she thought she knew, pressed down on her. Say something, Vincent finally said. Please. You worked with the FBI. Yes. Against your own people. Against criminals. Against men who hurt innocent people for profit. Against Frank, who threatened the woman I love. He turned to face her fully. Isabella, I know how it looks. I know in my world what I did is unforgivable. But I'd do it again in a heartbeat if it meant keeping you safe. If it meant building a clean life for our family. Did anyone else know? My mother. Richard. That's it. I couldn't risk word getting out before the raids happened. Your mother knew and I didn't? She figured it out, showed up at the safe house and demanded answers. You know how she is? He smiled slightly. She told me I was doing the right thing, that my father would have understood, that protecting family is the only thing that really matters. Isabella pressed her hands to her face, trying to process it all. This is insane, all of it. The house, the FBI, everything you've been doing behind my back. I know, and I'm sorry I couldn't tell you sooner, but Isabella, this is it. This is me proving I'm serious about changing, about being the man you deserve, the father our child deserves. She looked at him through her tears. You bought a house, decorated a nursery, worked with the FBI, risked everything, and you did it all while I thought you'd stopped loving me. I never stopped, not for a second. I just got so caught up in the plan, in making sure everything was perfect and safe, that I forgot the most important part. Actually being with you while I did it. You're such an idiot. I know. But you're my idiot. The words slipped out before she could stop them. Vincent's eyes widened. Yeah, maybe. If you keep showing up. If you keep being honest. If you really can be the man who makes pancakes and buys houses and works with the FBI to protect his family. I can be that man. I am that man. I just needed to remember it. He cupped her face gently. I love you, Isabella. More than my pride, more than my reputation, more than the empire I built. You and our baby are my empire now. The only one that matters. She kissed him then, soft and tentative at first, then deeper. It felt like coming home and starting over all at once. His arms wrapped around her, pulling her close, and for the first time in years, Isabella let herself believe that maybe they really could make this work. That maybe love was enough if you paired it with honesty and effort and showing up every single day. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Vincent rested his forehead against hers. "Move in with me, not to the estate. Here, let me prove every day that this is real." "Vincent, it's only been 4 days." "I know, but I've wasted 2 years already. I don't want to waste another day. We don't have to make any big decisions. Just live here with me. Let me take care of you. Let me be present for this pregnancy. For you." Isabella looked around the sunroom, at the house Vincent had built for them, at the future he'd been planning even while she thought there was no future left. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay. I'll move in. But Vincent, if you mess this up, I won't. I swear to you, I won't." And kissing him again, feeling their baby between them and the promise of everything they could be, Isabella chose to believe him. Isabella moved into the ranch house 3 days later. Not all at once. She wasn't ready for that level of commitment. But she brought clothes, her favorite books, the little things that made a space feel like home. Vincent helped carry boxes, his excitement barely contained as he showed her where he'd made space in the closets, cleared drawers in the bathroom, set up a small studio in the sunroom for her painting. "You thought of everything," she said, running her hand along the easel he'd bought. "I had a lot of time to think, a lot of lonely nights imagining what it would be like if you were here." He set down the last box and came up behind her, his arms wrapping around her waist, hands settling on her stomach. "This is better than anything I imagined." She leaned back against him. "We're really doing this. We're really doing this." He pressed a kiss to her neck. "Scared? Terrified? Me too." His arms tightened slightly, but the good kind of terrified, like standing on the edge of something amazing. They spent the afternoon unpacking, working side by side in comfortable silence. Vincent kept finding excuses to touch her. A hand on her lower back as he passed, fingers brushing hers when they reached for the same box, stealing kisses when she wasn't expecting it. "You're very handsy today," Isabella said, laughing as he pulled her close for the 3rd time in 10 minutes. "I'm making up for lost time. 2 years of not being able to touch you whenever I wanted. I have a lot of catching up to do." His hand slid up her sides. "Unless you want me to stop?" "I didn't say that." His eyes darkened. "No? No." She reached up, threading her fingers through his hair. "I missed this too. Missed you. Even when I was angry. Even when I told myself I was done. I missed the way you touch me." Vincent groaned softly. "Bella, you can't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because I'm trying to be respectful, trying to take things slow, trying not to rush you." His forehead rested against hers. "But when you look at me like that, when you say things like that, all I want to do is carry you to that bedroom and show you exactly how much I've missed you." Heat pooled low in Isabella's stomach. "What's stopping you?" "The fact that we're supposed to be taking things slow, building trust. Not jumping straight back into—" She kissed him, cutting off his words. He made a sound deep in his throat, his hands gripping her hips as he kissed her back. It was hungry, desperate, 2 years of longing compressed into one moment. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Vincent's control was visibly fraying. "Isabella, take me to bed, Vincent. Stop being noble and just be with me. I need you. I've needed you for so long." Something in his expression shifted. The careful restraint he'd been maintaining shattered. He lifted her easily, her legs wrapping around his waist as he carried her down the hall to the master bedroom. He laid her on the bed gently, despite the urgency thrumming between them. "Are you sure? We don't have to—" "Vincent." She pulled him down to her. "Stop talking." And he did. His hands were reverent as he undressed her, touching her like she was something precious. His mouth followed, pressing kisses to every inch of newly revealed skin. He lingered on her stomach, the slight curve where their baby was growing, his lips tender against her. "I love you," he whispered against her skin. "I love both of you so much." Isabella's breath hitched. She pulled him up, needing to see his face. "Show me." And he did. He showed her with every touch, every kiss, every whispered word against her skin. It was different than before, slower, more intentional, weighted with everything they'd almost lost. When they finally came together, Isabella felt tears streaming down her face from the overwhelming emotion of it. "Bella, are you okay?" Vincent stilled immediately, concern flooding his features. "Don't stop. Please don't stop." She cupped his face. I'm so happy. And I didn't think I'd ever be happy again. But I am. With you. Right now." He kissed her then, soft and deep, and they moved together like they were relearning a dance they'd both forgotten, building toward something explosive and tender all at once, after they lay tangled together, sweaty and breathless and grinning like idiots. "So much for taking things slow," Isabella said. Vincent laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest. "I blame you entirely. You're very persuasive. I barely did anything. You exist, that's enough." He turned on his side, propping his head on his hand to look at her. "How do you feel?" "Like I just had really excellent sex with my technically ex-husband." "Technically? The papers are signed. We just haven't filed them yet." "So don't file them." His finger traced patterns on her shoulder. "Stay married to me. Be my wife for real this time, not just on paper." "Vincent, I know what you're going to say. That it's too soon, that we need more time, that sex doesn't fix everything. And you're right. But Isabella, I don't want to be your ex-husband or your boyfriend or whatever complicated thing we'd call this. I want to be your husband, the husband I should have been all along." She turned to face him fully. "What if we mess this up again? What if we fall back into old patterns? Then we figure it out, together. No more secrets, no more shutting each other out. We talk, we fight if we need to, but we do it together." He kissed her forehead. "I'm not saying it'll be perfect. I'm saying it'll be real. I need time to think about it. Take all the time you need. The papers can sit in a drawer forever for all I care. I just want you here, in this house, building this life with me." They stayed in bed for hours, talking about everything and nothing. Vincent told her more about his work with the FBI, the fear he'd lived with that something would go wrong and she'd be caught in the crossfire. Isabella told him about the nights she'd cried herself to sleep, the mornings she'd wake up and forget for a moment that they were falling apart. "I'm sorry," he said for probably the 100th time. "I'm so sorry I put you through that. I know. And I forgive you. Not because you deserve it yet, but because holding on to the anger is exhausting. I'm choosing to believe you've changed, that this version of you, the one who makes pancakes and buys houses and actually talks to me, is the real you." "It is. I promise you this is who I want to be." As the sun set, painting the bedroom in shades of gold and pink, Vincent's phone buzzed on the nightstand. He glanced at it, then showed Isabella the screen. His mother. "Dinner tomorrow night, 6 sharp. I want to see Isabella and hear about my grandchild. Don't be late or I'll come find you both." Isabella laughed. "Your mother doesn't mess around. Never has. You up for it? I know she can be intense. I'd love to see her." "I've missed Maria." The next evening they drove to Maria Russo's house, a modest home in a quiet neighborhood, nothing like the estate Vincent owned. Maria answered the door before they even knocked, pulling Isabella into a fierce hug. "Let me look at you." She held Isabella at arm's length, her dark eyes scanning her face. "You look tired. Is my idiot son taking care of you?" "Ma, I'm not talking to you yet." Maria pointed at Vincent. "Go set the table. Make yourself useful." Vincent wisely retreated to the dining room, while Maria led Isabella to the kitchen. "Sit, tell me everything, and don't leave anything out." Isabella found herself pouring out the whole story, the divorce papers, the pregnancy test, the airport confrontation, the house Vincent had bought. Maria listened, occasionally nodding or making disapproving sounds in Italian. My son is stubborn like his father, she said finally. Thinks he has to fix everything alone, protect everyone from his own shadow. His father was the same way, pushed me away for months when he was dealing with a problem, thought he was keeping me safe. She stirred the sauce on the stove. But you know what I told him? I said, I didn't marry you to be safe. I married you to be partners. Now let me help or get out of my way. What did he do? He let me help, and we were stronger for it. Maria turned to Isabella. Vincent is learning this now. Learning that love isn't about protecting someone from everything. It's about facing things together. You're teaching him that. Don't stop. I'm scared I'm being foolish, that I'm setting myself up for more heartbreak. Maybe, but life is full of risks. You could walk away, protect your heart, raise this baby alone, and you'd survive. But would you be happy? Maria touched Isabella's cheek gently. This boy of mine, he loves you with everything he has. He's just finally figuring out how to show it. Give him the chance. If he messes up again, I'll deal with him myself. Dinner was warm and loud, Maria alternating between doting on Isabella and scolding Vincent in rapid Italian. Vincent took it all with good humor, his hand never leaving Isabella's under the table. When they were leaving, Maria hugged Isabella again. You're glowing already. This baby is lucky to have you as a mother, both of you. She looked pointedly at Vincent. In the car, Vincent was quiet for a long moment. My mother really loves you. I love her too. She's been more of a mother to me than my own ever was. She told me something while you were in the bathroom. Said if I ever make you cry like that again, she'll disown me and adopt you instead. I think she was serious. She definitely was. He laughed, then laced his fingers through hers. Thank you for coming tonight, for giving this a real chance. For believing in me even when I haven't earned it yet. You're earning it, Vincent. Every day, you're earning it. That night, lying in bed together in their new house, Isabella felt something shift inside her. The walls she'd built around her heart were crumbling, piece by piece. And for the first time in years, she wasn't scared of what that meant. She was ready to fall in love with her husband all over again. Vincent's arm tightened around her as he slept, his hand splayed protectively over her stomach. In the morning, she'd wake up to coffee and breakfast and the man who was fighting for their second chance. And maybe that was enough. Maybe it was more than enough. It was everything. But as Isabella drifted off to sleep, she didn't know that tomorrow would bring a complication neither of them expected. A ghost from Vincent's past that would test everything they'd rebuilt. And this time, they'd have to face it together. Isabella woke to the sound of Vincent's voice, sharp and tense, coming from downstairs. She glanced at the clock, 4:30 in the morning. Pulling on a robe, she padded quietly down the stairs. Vincent was in his office, a small room off the living room that he'd been using to handle the last details of his business transition. The door was slightly ajar. I don't care what he wants, Marco. The answer is no. Pause. Because I'm done with that life. Tell him I said. Vincent stopped abruptly as Isabella pushed the door open. His hair was disheveled, like he'd been running his hands through it. He was still in his pajama pants, no shirt, tension radiating from every line of his body. I'll call you back, he said into the phone and hung up. What's going on? Isabella asked. Vincent scrubbed a hand over his face. Nothing. Just tying up some loose ends. Go back to bed, Bella. It's early. Vincent. She crossed her arms. No more secrets, remember? What was that call about? He was quiet for a long moment, then gestured to the chair across from his desk. Sit, please. The please worried her more than the phone call had. Isabella sat. Remember I told you about working with the FBI? About Frank being in custody? Yes. Well, apparently Frank's brother, Tony Castellano, isn't happy about that. He's been trying to contact me for the past week, wants a meeting. Wants to discuss reparations for his brother's arrest? Isabella's stomach dropped. Reparations? Vincent, that sounds like a threat. Yeah, it is. He leaned back in his chair. Tony's not as smart as Frank was, but he's more volatile. Dangerous in a different way. My people have been keeping tabs on him, making sure he doesn't know about this house or about you being here. Your people? I thought you left all that behind. I did, but I still have friends. People who owe me favors. People who want to make sure I stay safe because they're depending on me to help them transition out too. He reached across the desk, taking her hand. I need you to not panic, okay? This is under control. How is someone threatening you under control? Because I'm handling it. Richard from the FBI is already aware. Tony's being watched. And I'm meeting with him this afternoon to make it clear that I'm not playing his games. You're meeting with him? Isabella pulled her hand back. Are you insane? It's the only way to end this. If I don't, he'll keep escalating. Keep trying to get to me. This way, I face him directly, with FBI surveillance and backup, and I shut it down once and for all. Or he kills you. He won't. You can't know that. Vincent stood and came around the desk, kneeling in front of her chair. Bella, listen to me. Tony's not stupid enough to come after me directly, not with the FBI watching him. He wants money. He wants to save face. I'll give him a little of the first and none of the second, and he'll back off. This is just posturing. And if it's not, what then? Our baby grows up without a father because you had to prove something to some mobster with a grudge? That's not going to happen. You don't know that. She stood abruptly, forcing him to rock back. God, Vincent, we've been here less than a week. 1 week of being happy, of thinking maybe we could actually make this work, and already there's danger and threats, and you're talking about meeting with criminals. Ex-criminals. I'm an ex-criminal. This isn't funny. I know, I'm sorry. He stood, reaching for her, but she stepped back. Isabella, please. I understand you're scared. I'm scared too. But running from this won't make it go away. I have to handle it. Then let the FBI handle it. That's what they're for, right? They are handling it. I'm just their cooperative witness, meeting with a person of interest to gather information. It's all being recorded, all supervised. Richard will be in the next room. Isabella pressed her hands to her face, trying to calm the panic rising in her chest. I can't do this. I can't spend my life wondering if you're going to come home, if every phone call is another threat, if our child is going to be safe. You won't have to. Vincent's voice was firm. After this meeting, Tony will have no reason to come after me. The FBI will have everything they need to prosecute him if he steps out of line. And I'll be completely clear of this world. Free. We'll be free. You promise? I promise. 1 meeting, a few hours, and then it's over. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this really would be the end of it, but fear gnawed at her, making it hard to breathe. I'm coming with you, she said suddenly. Absolutely not. Vincent? No. Isabella, you're pregnant. You're not going anywhere near Tony Castellano or any meeting with him. That's not negotiable. So I'm just supposed to sit here and wait, wondering if you're okay, if something went wrong. He cupped her face in his hands. Yes, and I know that's hard. I know it's unfair. But I need you safe. I need our baby safe. Please, Bella, trust me on this. She searched his eyes, seeing the determination there, the fear underneath it. He was scared too, she realized. Scared of losing her, of losing this chance they'd been building. Okay, she whispered, but you call me every hour. And if anything feels wrong, you leave. You don't try to be a hero. I'm not a hero. I'm just a man trying to protect his family. He kissed her forehead. I love you. More than anything. Remember that. The morning passed in agonizing slowness. Vincent made breakfast. Pancakes again, because he knew they were her favorite. He told her stories about his childhood, clearly trying to distract her. They sat in the sunroom, his arm around her, both of them pretending everything was normal. At noon, Richard arrived. Mrs. Russo. He nodded respectfully. Vincent's told you about the meeting. He has. Are you sure this is safe? As sure as we can be. Tony's motivated by money, not violence. He'll posture, make demands, but he won't do anything stupid. We'll have agents in the building, surveillance equipment, emergency protocols. Vincent will be fine. And after? What happens after this meeting? If all goes well, we'll have enough to add to our case against the Castellano organization. Tony will back off, knowing we're watching his every move. And Vincent will be officially free and clear. It didn't make Isabella feel better, but she nodded anyway. Vincent changed into a suit. Armor, she realized. He was putting on his old persona, the dangerous man he used to be, to face this threat. "I'll be back by 6, he said, kissing her at the door. 7 at the latest. We'll have dinner, celebrate this being over." "Vincent," she grabbed his hand. "I love you. I should have said it sooner, but I do. I love you." His expression softened completely. "Say it again. I love you." He kissed her, deep and desperate. "I love you too. So much. I'll come back to you, Bella. I promise." Then he was gone, driving away with Richard, and Isabella was alone in the too-quiet house. She tried to paint, tried to read, tried to watch television. Nothing worked. Her phone sat on the coffee table, silent. 1 hour passed, then 2. At 2:30, Vincent texted, "All good. Meeting about to start." At 3:15, "Still talking. Everything's fine. Tony's all bluster." At 4, nothing. At 4:30, nothing. Isabella started pacing. Something was wrong. She could feel it. At 5, her phone rang. Richard's number. "Hello? Mrs. Russo, I need you to stay calm." Her heart stopped. "What happened? Is Vincent okay?" "He's fine. There was an incident, but he's fine. Tony brought more people than expected and things got heated. Vincent's on his way back to you now." "What kind of incident?" "Richard, tell me exactly what happened." A pause. "Tony pulled a gun. Vincent talked him down before anyone got hurt. But the situation escalated faster than we anticipated. We have Tony in custody now. The threat is over. He pulled a gun on Vincent, and Vincent handled it better than most trained agents would have. He's shaken up, but he's okay. Should be pulling up any minute." Isabella dropped the phone and ran to the window. Sure enough, the sedan was coming up the driveway. She was out the door before he'd even parked, running to him. Vincent got out of the car and she threw herself into his arms, sobbing against his chest. "I'm okay," he murmured, holding her tight. "I'm okay, Bella. I'm here. He pulled a gun on you. And I talked him into putting it down. No one got hurt." He pulled back to look at her face. "I'm sorry I scared you. I'm so sorry." They went inside, Vincent's arm around her waist like he couldn't bear to let her go. He told her everything. How Tony had shown up with 3 men trying to intimidate him. How he'd demanded $500,000 in compensation for his brother's arrest. How when Vincent refused, Tony had pulled a gun and put it to Vincent's head. "What did you do?" Isabella asked, her hand clutching his. "I reminded him that killing me wouldn't get him any money. That the FBI was recording everything. That his brother was already facing life in prison. And did he really want to join him?" Vincent smiled slightly. "Then I told him his gun wasn't even loaded." "Was it?" "No idea. But the bluff worked. He checked and it gave the agents time to move in." Isabella wanted to be angry, wanted to yell at him for taking such a stupid risk. But she was too relieved he was home, safe, alive. "Is it really over?" she asked. "It's really over. Tony's in custody. The FBI has everything they need. And Richard confirmed I'm officially done. No more threats, no more ties to that world. Just us." She kissed him then, pouring all her fear and relief and love into it. He kissed her back like she was air and he'd been drowning. "Don't ever scare me like that again," she whispered against his lips. "I won't. I'm done with that life, Isabella. Completely done. No more meetings with dangerous people. No more risks. Just you, me, and our baby. That's all I want." They spent the evening tangled together on the couch, Vincent's hand on her stomach, both of them processing how close they'd come to losing everything again. "I'm tearing up those divorce papers," Isabella said suddenly. Vincent's hand stilled. "What?" "I'm not going through with it. I want to stay married to you. Really married. Because today, when I thought something might have happened to you, all I could think was that I'd wasted so much time being angry, being scared, and I don't want to waste any more time. Bella, I love you. I choose you. Every day, every moment, I choose you. And I want our baby to grow up seeing parents who fight for each other, who don't give up when things get hard, who choose love even when it's scary. Vincent pulled her into his lap, his forehead pressed to hers. I choose you too. Always. Forever. No matter what comes. And kissing him there, feeling their baby between them and the promise of their future stretching out ahead, Isabella knew they were going to be okay. More than okay. They were going to be happy. But first, they had one more surprise coming. One neither of them expected. One that would bring everything full circle and give them the ending they deserved. 6 months later, Isabella stood in front of the nursery mirror, turning sideways to examine her profile. At 7 months pregnant, she was undeniably round, her belly stretching the soft cotton dress she wore. "You're beautiful," Vincent said from the doorway. She turned to find him leaning against the frame, dressed in jeans and a t-shirt, looking at her like she was the most incredible thing he'd ever seen. "I'm huge. You're growing our daughter. That makes you beautiful." He crossed the room and placed both hands on her belly. "How's she doing today?" As if on cue, the baby kicked hard against his palm. Vincent's face lit up with that same wonder he showed every single time. "She's active. Been kicking all morning." Isabella covered his hands with hers. "I think she knows today's important." Today they were renewing their vows. Not the elaborate affair they'd had the first time, with hundreds of guests and excessive everything. This was going to be small, just family and close friends in the backyard of their ranch house, overlooking the lake. Starting over, doing it right this time. "Your mother's been calling. She wants to know if you need help getting ready," Vincent said. "Tell her I'm almost done. Just need to finish my makeup." He kissed her temple. "I'll go check on the setup. The caterer should be here any minute." After he left, Isabella sat at the vanity Vincent had bought for the nursery. She'd been spending a lot of time in here lately, painting the walls with murals of forests and stars. She applied mascara carefully, thinking about how much had changed in 6 months. The ranch house had become their sanctuary. Vincent worked from home most days, only going into the office when absolutely necessary. They'd spent the past months preparing for the baby, taking childbirth classes together, reading parenting books, arguing playfully about names. They'd settled on Elena Marie, after Vincent's grandmother and Isabella's middle name. The business transition was complete. Vincent now ran a successful real estate investment firm, all legitimate, all clean. He'd helped dozens of his former associates transition into legal work. Some had taken him up on it, others had drifted away. But Vincent didn't look back. His empire now was this house, this family, this life they were building together. There was a knock on the door. "Come in," Isabella called. Maria Russo entered, already dressed in a beautiful sage green dress. "Let me see you." Isabella stood, suddenly nervous. The dress was simple, white, flowing, designed to accommodate her pregnancy. Nothing like the elaborate gown she'd worn the first time. "Oh, my beautiful girl." Maria's eyes filled with tears. "You're perfect." "I'm crying now, thanks," Isabella laughed, dabbing at her eyes. "Pregnancy hormones." Maria came over and took her hands. "I need to tell you something. Something I should have said a long time ago." "What is it?" "When you married Vincent the first time, I was happy, but I was also worried. I knew the life he was living, the dangers that came with it. I was terrified he'd drag you into that darkness." She squeezed Isabella's hands. "But you did something I never expected. You didn't just survive that world. You pulled him out of it. You made him remember who he really was underneath all the power and violence. You saved him." "Maria, let me finish. These past 6 months I've watched my son become the man I always hoped he'd be. A good man, a present man. A man who comes to family dinner every week and calls his mother just to talk." She smiled through her tears. "That's because of you. Because you didn't give up on him, even when you had every reason to. So thank you, Isabella. Thank you for loving my stubborn, complicated boy and showing him what really matters." Isabella hugged her, both of them crying now, probably ruining their makeup. "He saved me too," Isabella whispered. "I was so lonely before him, So lost. He gave me a family, purpose, love. We saved each other. A throat cleared from the doorway. Vincent stood there looking uncomfortable. Sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation. What kind of situation? Maria asked, immediately switching to protective mother mode. The good kind. Come see. They followed him downstairs and out to the backyard. Isabella gasped. The setup was supposed to be simple. A small arch by the lake, chairs for 30 guests. But what she saw was transformed. Fairy lights strung through the trees, flowers everywhere, a beautiful wooden arch decorated with white roses and greenery. And standing near the arch was Richard from the FBI. Richard, I didn't know you were coming, Isabella said. I wasn't planning to, but then Vincent called me yesterday with a request. Richard smiled. Turns out I'm also an ordained minister. Did it online years ago for a friend's wedding. Vincent asked if I'd officiate today. The priest I'd originally booked canceled, Vincent explained, coming up beside Isabella. Food poisoning. And I thought, who better to marry us than the man who helped make this new life possible? Isabella looked between them, overwhelmed. That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. The next hour was a blur. Guests arrived, Vincent's mother and some aunts and uncles. Isabella's best friend Sophie, who'd flown in from London. A few of Vincent's former associates who'd successfully transitioned out of the life, and some new friends they'd made in the neighborhood. Isabella watched from the bedroom window as Vincent greeted everyone, shaking hands, laughing, completely at ease. This was who he was now. Not the cold, distant Mafia boss, just a man about to marry the woman he loved. Sophie came to help her with final preparations. You look radiant, Sophie said, adjusting Isabella's hair. And happy. Really, genuinely happy. I am. Terrifyingly happy. Good. You deserve it. After everything you've been through, you deserve this. Sophie hugged her carefully. I'm so glad you gave him another chance. So glad you're here and not in London living in my spare room. Me too, though I would have rocked that spare room. They laughed, and then it was time. Maria walked Isabella down the makeshift aisle. As they approached the arch, Vincent turned and Isabella watched his expression transform. Love, wonder, gratitude, all of it written plainly on his face. When she reached him, he took her hands, and she saw that his eyes were wet. You okay? She whispered. I'm perfect. You're here. That's all I need. Richard began the ceremony, but instead of traditional vows, Vincent and Isabella had written their own. Vincent went first, his voice steady despite the emotion underneath. Isabella, 3 years ago, I made you promises I didn't know how to keep. I promised to love you, honor you, cherish you, and I meant those promises with everything I had. But I didn't understand what they really required. I didn't understand that love without presence is just words. That honor means respecting you enough to let you in, even when I'm scared. That cherishing you means choosing you every single day, over everything else. He paused, gathering himself. I failed you. I pushed you away when I should have pulled you closer. I made decisions for you instead of with you. I let my fear control me more than my love for you. And I'm sorry. I'll spend the rest of my life being sorry for those lost years, those lonely nights you spent waiting for a man who was too stupid to see what he had. Isabella's vision blurred with tears. But I'm here now, really here. And I'm making you new promises. I promise to show up, every single day. To make you pancakes on Christmas morning and hold your hand through the boring parts of life. To be present for our daughter's first steps, first words, first everything. I promise to talk to you when I'm scared instead of shutting you out. To trust you with my fears and my failures and my dreams. I promise to love you not just with my words, but with my actions. With every choice I make. Every moment I choose you over anything else that might pull me away. He squeezed her hands. You saved me, Isabella, from a life I didn't even realize was destroying me. You reminded me that power means nothing without someone to share it with. That all the money and respect in the world can't compete with the feeling of waking up next to you every morning. You're my empire now. You and Elena. And I promise to protect that empire with everything I am. Not by pushing you away, but by pulling you close and facing whatever comes together. I love you. I choose you, today and every day for the rest of our lives." Isabella was openly crying now. She took a shaky breath and began her own vows. "Vincent, when we got married the first time, I thought love was enough. I thought as long as we loved each other, everything else would work itself out. But I learned the hard way that love needs more than feelings. It needs trust and communication and presence and effort. It needs two people willing to fight for it, even when things get hard." She smiled through her tears. "You broke my heart. I'm not going to pretend you didn't. There were nights I cried myself to sleep. Mornings I woke up wondering if I'd ever feel whole again. You made me feel invisible, unimportant, like I was just another responsibility you had to manage rather than the woman you chose to spend your life with. And I almost gave up. I almost walked away from you completely." Vincent's grip on her hands tightened. "But then you showed up at that airport, and you asked me for a chance to prove you'd changed. And against all my better judgment, against all my self-preservation instincts, I said yes. And Vincent, you've proven it every single day since. With breakfast in bed, and honest conversations, and letting me see all of you. The scared parts, the uncertain parts, the parts you used to hide because you thought they made you weak." She touched his cheek gently. "You're not weak. You're brave. It takes more courage to be vulnerable than it does to be invincible. It takes more strength to admit you were wrong than to pretend you're always right. And watching you transform, watching you become the man I always knew you could be, has been the greatest gift of my life." She placed his hand on her belly. "I promise to keep believing in you, even when you doubt yourself. To remind you of who you are when the world tries to pull you back to who you were. I promise to be your partner, not just your wife. To stand beside you when things get hard. To celebrate with you when things go right. I promise to love you on the easy days and the difficult ones. On the days when we're perfectly in sync, and the days when we drive each other crazy. I promise to build this life with you, raise our daughter with you, grow old with you. You're my home, Vincent. Not this house, not any place. You. And I'm choosing to stay home, right here, with you. I love you. Always have. Always will." Richard cleared his throat, clearly emotional himself. "By the power vested in me by the state and the internet, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Again, Vincent, kiss your wife." And he did. Soft and sweet at first, then deeper, holding her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Their guests cheered and clapped, but Isabella barely heard them. All she could focus on was Vincent, this moment, this perfect beginning. The reception was beautiful. They ate and danced and laughed, surrounded by the people who mattered most. Vincent kept Isabella close all evening, his hand never leaving hers or her belly, like he needed constant confirmation that this was real. As the sun set over the lake, painting everything in shades of gold and pink, Vincent pulled her away from the party. "Where are we going?" she asked. "I have something for you. One more gift." He led her to the nursery and handed her an envelope. Inside was a deed. "The ranch house is officially in your name," he said. "Not mine, not ours, yours. So you never have to worry about having nowhere to go. So you always have a home no matter what. Vincent, I'm not going anywhere. I know, but I need you to know that you could. That you're choosing to stay because you want to, not because you have to. That this is your house, your sanctuary. I'm just lucky enough that you're letting me live here with you." She set down the deed and cupped his face in her hands. "You're ridiculous and perfect, and I love you so much. I love you too, both of you." His hand covered hers on her belly. "Thank you for taking a chance on me, for believing I could change, for giving me the greatest gift, a family, a real family." Elena kicked hard, like she was agreeing. They both laughed. "She's got strong opinions already," Isabella said. "She gets that from her mother. Excuse me, from her father. You're the most stubborn person I know." "True, she's doomed." They stood there in the nursery they'd prepared together, Surrounded by murals Isabella had painted and furniture Vincent had assembled, holding each other as their daughter moved between them. 3 months later, Elena Marie Rousseau made her entrance into the world at 2 in the morning, screaming her displeasure at being evicted from her comfortable home. Vincent cried when they placed her in his arms, this tiny perfect person he and Isabella had created. "She looks like you," he whispered, tracing her tiny features. "She has your eyes. Poor kid. The best eyes." Isabella leaned her head on his shoulder, exhausted but happier than she'd ever been. "We made a person, Vincent. A whole entire person." "We did. And I promise you, Bella, I promise both of you, I will be the father she deserves. Present, involved, protective but not suffocating. I'll teach her to be strong and kind, to never settle for less than she deserves, to fight for what matters and let go of what doesn't. You're going to be an amazing father. You already are." And he was. From that first night, Vincent was all in. 2 a.m. feedings, diaper changes, walking the floors with a crying baby while Isabella tried to rest. He learned to swaddle and soothe and sing off-key lullabies that somehow always worked. Maria visited constantly, spoiling her granddaughter and offering advice that Isabella and Vincent mostly followed. Sophie flew in to meet Elena and declared herself the favorite aunt. Even Richard stopped by, bringing a stuffed FBI teddy bear that made Vincent laugh until he cried. Their life wasn't perfect. There were sleepless nights and disagreements and moments when they were both exhausted and frustrated. But they faced it together. They talked through problems instead of avoiding them. They chose each other, every single day, in the big moments and the small ones. 1 year after their vow renewal, on another Christmas Eve, Isabella found Vincent in the nursery watching Elena sleep. "Penny for your thoughts," she said softly. "Just thinking about last year, about how close I came to losing everything. If you'd gotten on that plane, if I hadn't chased you." He shook his head. "I don't like thinking about it. But I didn't get on the plane, and you did chase me. And we're here now." He turned to her, pulling her close. "Best decision I ever made. Running after you, begging you to stay, proving I could change." "Second best," Isabella corrected. "What's the first?" "Walking into that gallery 3 years ago and buying all those terrible paintings just to talk to me." He laughed quietly. "They were terrible, weren't they?" "The worst. But it worked. You got my attention. I got your heart. Eventually, after almost destroying it first. You did. And then you put it back together, piece by piece, made it stronger than before." They stood there, arms around each other, watching their daughter sleep. Outside, snow had started to fall, white and peaceful. Christmas lights twinkled on the tree in the living room. Somewhere in the house, Vincent's phone was probably buzzing with business calls he'd ignore until tomorrow. This was his priority now. This moment, this family, this life they'd built from the ashes of what they'd almost lost. "Merry Christmas, Bella," Vincent whispered against her hair. "Merry Christmas, Vincent. I love you. I love you too. Always." And in the peaceful quiet of their home, their daughter sleeping soundly, their future stretching out bright and full of promise, Isabella knew with absolute certainty that they'd made it. Not just survived, but thrived. Together. Always together. This was their happy ending. And their beautiful beginning.